You're listening to the Journey Podcast. What if healing could be stored and accessed like a precious resource? Stay tuned to find out more in today's episode. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Journey Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. In this thought-provoking episode, we embark on an exploration of storing healing in organic and inorganic matter. We delve into the fascinating world of healing as our guest shares his groundbreaking work aimed at understanding and replicating the mechanisms behind this transformative process. We explore the mysteries of healing and discuss if and how it could be harnessed, studied, and potentially scaled to benefit countless individuals. Our guest offers a glimpse into the future of healthcare, where healing may not only be accessible, but also customizable, leading to more effective and tailored therapies. Tune in to gain a deeper understanding of the science behind healing and how it could shape the future of health and well-being. William F. Bengston is an Emeritus Professor of Statistics and Research Methods at St. Joseph's University in New York and the past president of the Society for Scientific Exploration, an international group of scientists who study anomalies. Dr. Bengston has been doing research into anomalous healing for over 40 years and has numerous peer-reviewed academic publications. His memoir, The Energy Cure, is published by Sounds 2 Publishers. He has also lectured widely in the US, Canada, and Europe. Dr. Bengston's research has produced the first successful full cures of transplanted mammary cancer and methylcholine-3-induced sarcomas in mice by energy healing techniques that he helped to develop. He has also investigated assorted correlates to healing, such as EEG and fMRI entrainment and geomagnetic micropulsation anomalies in healing space. His current work involves the attempt to reverse engineer healing and reproduce healing without the healer, and to develop therapies that can be scaled. Here is my interview with Dr. Bill Bengston. Hi, Dr. Bengston. It's so great to have you on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because storing healing is such an interesting space for holistic healing. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here. And for starters, would you like to share a little bit about yourself and your story and how you came to do this amazing work that you're doing now?
Oh, if you have a couple hours, I'd be happy to give you details. But short of that, 100 and something years ago, I came in touch with a crazy guy who claimed he was psychic. I'm a skeptic. I spent quite a bit of time trying to make his effects go away. I lost. And then he spontaneously turned into a healer with no teacher. I was the first person he ever put his hands on for a healing. This is the real short version. I used to have a very chronic bad back that I was in pain for years. And this annoying guy comes along and puts his hands on my back, and the last pain I ever had. So my choices were really at least two. One, I could ignore this and be safe. Or two, I could try to figure out what in heaven's name just happened to me and see if I could get to the bottom of this. So for better or for worse, I went down road number 2. But I have to tell you, in the last 110 years, I have not gotten to the bottom of it. So I still don't know how this stuff works, but there's no question the stuff works.
Absolutely. It's a bit of a rabbit hole when we start talking about healing. Now, you found something that you were interested in the healing topic in general, and that was storing healing. So what made you interested in that particular piece of healing?
Well, the idea of storing healing systematically goes back to the great Bernard Grad at McGill University, who allegedly, as he was beginning I would say, the field of healing. He's the guy. But as he was doing this, he was also looking at what would happen if a healer, for example, treated a piece of cotton and we applied that cotton. What would happen if a healer treated some water? What would happen? Can we apply that water? And he found a whole variety of things, substances that will store water, will store healing and work as a healing surrogate. That's pretty powerful question to raise because if you can store healing, and you can, if you can store healing, the second question is, can you scale healing? And this would make, if you can store and scale healing, we could make this widespread and we could make it therefore conventional. So I've done a variety of research on stuff you can store healing in. I've followed grad in cotton and water, and I've done experiments in medical schools on all this kind of stuff. And I would say, as a good card-carrying skeptic, I have virtually no doubt now that cotton will store healing and actually reproduce the healing effect. That's all terrific. If I want to treat healing or heal a piece of cotton, I don't know why cotton needs healing, but if I want to heal a piece of cotton and I mail it to you, you can open it up, plop it on yourself, and get, in effect, the same thing as a hands-on healing. You can do the same thing with water. So I've done this at a number of med schools. You can treat water, and I can feed the water to cancerous mice, put it in their little water bottles that they drink out of, and that will cure the mice. And that's interesting. It points to a deeper mystery than just does healing happen, but it doesn't make it practical. I mean, how much cotton can you make? How much water can you make? But if you can mass produce water that has X, whatever this stuff is, and you can mass produce water, you can mass produce cotton, you can mass produce whatever you can store it in, we can scale it. We can scale it, make it global. If we can make a recording, I've got a number of tests of this. If we can make a recording can be globally scaled immediately. And so kind of all the questions, the people walk around wringing their hands, do you believe in healing? If you want a healing, download it. I mean, if you don't want it, don't take it. I'm not trying to save the world. I'm just trying to make healing available to the entire world. So I'm a little arrogant. I'm pretty far along on the storing. I'm not so far along on the scaling. I found water is scalable. A recording obviously is scalable. Cotton is not so much scalable. I can't get cotton to make more cotton. I can get water to make more water. And the goal is to get away from the old kind of questions. Is there such a thing as healing? Silly stuff. By now, if you're asking whether there's healing or not, you're really saying you don't know the literature. Because there's a boatload of research, there's a boatload of journal articles, there's a boatload of stuff that will present to you. Healing isn't a belief thing. It's a question of what does it work on, what doesn't it work on? What's it better at? What is it not better at?
Yeah, that is fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, as you're speaking about the storing healing and the different materials, I'm curious. So, the person that puts the first healing into the material, the healer that first charges this material or puts the healing in, does this have to be a special kind of healer? Do they have to have some kind of training, or who could charge these materials that you're using for storing the healing?
As with most wonderful questions, that's a wonderful question. My answer will be, I don't know.
Fair enough.
I just don't know. I made up a healing method. I don't think it's sacred. It's a gimmick, It's how do you get something to, it's like a training thing. It's like an exercise machine. It's if I was giving you a piano lesson, it would be a piano lesson. If I'm giving you a healing lesson, it's a healing lesson. And how much of piano can you teach? I don't know. We can get a bunch of musicians together, we can have a fight. But most think that you can do something, you can train something, but probably like most skills, there's a variation in who's good at it, who's not good at it. Many more years ago, maybe 80 years ago, I published an article that claimed that I had taught people how to heal. And so I had inexperienced, naive, non-believing students and faculty follow my method of healing, and I gave them cancerous mice with 100% death. I cured them all. And I said, wow, am I terrific or what? I showed that healing can be taught. 6 or 7 years after that, I woke up one day and I went, that doesn't make any sense. But looking at myself, I don't make any sense. I hadn't demonstrated healing can be taught. I demonstrated that you healed, but I don't know that I taught you how to do it. And the simple answer is, I think at this point, and some people get mad at me for this, I published an article with a biologist buddy of mine entitled, Can Healing Be Taught? And I didn't say yes, I didn't say no. I said, nobody's ever demonstrated, including me. I once claimed it, but I think my claim was exaggerated. Because in order to do it, I need a pre and a post test. I'd want a pre-test and give everybody a bunch of whatever we're doing, cancerous mice, cell cultures, whatever you got. And we do our hocus pocus methods. How do you do before you know any healing? And what is the value added of the healing method? The answer is, I don't know. I don't know. I can give you anecdote, that'll last hours and hours of people and card-carrying healers who have learned my method and say, this has changed. So I'm suspiciously leaning towards, like a piano lesson, you can get better. But I don't have real, what I would consider to a good card-carrying skeptic, I don't have proof.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's carried that out. They all know what they know. So I've had people come up, put their face in my face and go, you're an idiot. Of course you're going to teach healing. And I would say to them, well, it's a separate question whether I'm an idiot or not. And nobody's done the pre and the post test. I don't need to. I do, because I'm a skeptic.
Yeah, that would be a very good study to do the
It'd be a
pre and the
wonderful
post
study.
test. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how it would turn out, because the point of doing experiments is to be surprised.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm surprised all the time. I've got labs going all over the place. And I get calls in, I get results in from the lab, and I always end up scratching my head and being more confused than when I started. Because the reality is, I don't know how this stuff works. I just don't. And I can ask many more questions than I have purported answers. And I don't know anybody else who can answer my questions. They think they can. I don't.
Is there anything that you have come across that you have discovered as part of the healing when you were studying it? Anything that's measurable? Or is there sort of this, first the person or the mouse or the cells aren't healed and then they are? Or is there something measurable between those two ends?
I'm not sure what ends you're referring to.
If you have a mouse, for example, that's cancerous, so if the healer starts working on the mouse and then the mouse gets healed,
right,
that process in between, is there anything measurable that you have found that actually shows that there is healing happening? Or is this more there's not and then there is?
Yeah, you're asking me if I have what I call a healometer.
Yes, that sounds good. I like that.
Or a charge-o-meter or, something-o-meter. And the answer is no, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know of any. I know of people who claim to have them, but, upon scrutiny, it's still pretty mysterious.
Mm-hmm.
So I have actually somebody who is a PhD in electrical engineering with an emphasis on signal analysis. I got a weird research team. Worked on that exact problem, and he's been, flopping on the floor trying to figure out how to measure, and the light bulb goes off or the gauge happens or something like that. I don't know of anyone, including myself and my team, who's been able to do that. But that doesn't mean I'm giving up, because without that, I can't do a bunch of experiments that I need to do.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm never going to default to belief. I got to default to testing,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to be open to surprises, because when I test myself, I'm almost always wrong.
Yes.
So you probably have never met anyone who knows less than me, because I do so many experiments.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, this is so fascinating. And in some of the lectures that you have done, you have mentioned that healing is usually quite spontaneous. It's not this gradual thing that happens. It can be very quick. So,
Yeah.
I mean, is there a timeline to healing that you've observed? Or is this, like you said, there's no pattern
Too
as
much
you're working with that?
variation
Yeah.
in response. So I give you, this is a real case. I had a bunch of students, volunteer students, who they couldn't spell healing, let alone believe the stuff or practice the stuff or anything like that. And so we give them all a cage of cancerous mice, and they do my healing shtick, and then we see what happens. But sometimes the variation is astonishing. So we'll have this again, this is a real case. Two mice in a cage. Now, these mice are essentially clones of one another.
Mm-hmm.
They've been raised together. They've lived together. They don't know anything except the other mouse. This is their world. And we have one volunteer healer. So these are identical mice in a cage with one healer. They've been given cancer at the same time. They were born at the same time. Everything is the same, but one mouse will take 2.5 times as long to be cured. Now, we statisticians call that unexplained variance. That's simply jargon for, I don't know. That's really what it means. Unexplained, I don't know. And so when you're dealing with mice, when you're dealing with cell cultures, whether you're dealing with people, and we've done all those, there's going to be enormous variation.
Mm-hmm.
And right now I'm still sticking to unexplained variance, which means, I don't know.
Some are factors that are yet to be discovered in that.
Yeah. What I hate is let's say you're dealing with humans, I hate when you blame the victim. Someone needs a healing and you come along, well, you're not this enough, or you're not that enough, or you didn't believe, or you did believe, or you can't spell believe, or, whatever the thing is, we're blaming the person who needs to heal. I can't stand that. I just look at the data and say, here are the data.
Yeah. Now you work with cancerous mice and cell cultures. Have you experimented the healing on humans as well, or just in the lab setting with mice?
In the context of storing healing and scaling healing, there's a lot of potential in water.
Mm-hmm.
There's an enormous potential. Water clearly has a memory, and we can figure out, or we have figured out, a way, I don't know if it's the only way, but a way to get water to reproduce more water. So we've done experiments on that, on plants, cell cultures, mice, humans, agricultural units in the field. I mean, what happens if you put this hocus pocus water in a tulip factory, for example? So we went to one tulip factory that is a real number. They sell 100 million tulips a year. And we put a couple of drops of this hocus pocus stuff in the water, it changes the tulips. That's reasonably interesting. If we treat water and we give the water to cells, it's as if they've been treated by a card-carrying healer. In the case of people, I've done 5 clinical studies, and we're about to just finishing up the design on a 6th. And the clinical studies have ranged from having people take treated water or fixed water or potentized water or informed water. I like to call it informed water. I don't know what it's informed with. That's the motherlode question, but it's informed with something. And put a couple of drops under their tongue a number of times during the day. I've done 200-person clinical studies in the States and one in Europe. We get the same thing, you'd expect, but we get the same results, but the results are bizarre. So 98% of the people self-report are claiming benefit from these things. 98%. I mean, I don't believe that, but 98% are claiming it, and they all say, I want more. And the best description I've had of this, so there's people claiming that tumors fell off, that this happened. I used to be on drugs for depression, and now I'm not on drugs, and I'm not depressed anymore, and these attacks have gone away, and this happens, and this physical thing happened, and my foot healed, and they go on and on. But everybody, the commonality is they all say, I don't know what it is exactly. I can't put my finger on it, but I'm better when I take these. How do I get more? So we're starting to try to make a thing that people can get more, and you can get more. Go to my website. I'm not selling, but go to my website. Probably something there's a way to get informed water.
Mm-hmm.
Find it out. We did a couple of studies on COVID and informed water. And this was double-blind, placebo-controlled, randomized. We got, in one study, 200 people, in one study, 160 people on their way into a hospital to be treated for COVID. So they've been tested, pre-tested, they've been PCR'd, and they feel like hell, and, blah, blah. And so they're going for medical treatment in a hospital. Randomly, Half of them were given hocus pocus drops, and half were given non-informed water. We just published this in the Journal of Scientific Exploration. I think you can probably get it on the website. It's astonishing. We blew away modern medicine. I mean, COVID is not what you call a difficult problem. We're trying now, we're setting something up elsewhere in the world, and we're looking at Hep B. Can we fix hepatitis B? Because we seem to be pretty good at viruses. We're going to do some pre-tests on can we fix biotics? Can we fix bacteria? Because we want to see if we can substitute this for antibiotics.
Mm-hmm.
So antibiotics are starting to run their course. They're starting to lose efficacy. Can we get healing? Let's heal. Can we do the same thing? We want to see if we can fix parasites. So we're going to be looking into malaria, and make this widely available.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And have you found that this works better on certain things than others, or is this also more random?
No, I don't think it's random. I haven't obviously cracked the code, but first of all, I don't think all healing should be treated as alike.
Mhm.
So you got Bengston healing, does X, doesn't do Y very good. You got such and such healing, it does Y, it doesn't do X very good. And I think a skilled clinician, I'm an experimentalist, but a skilled clinician should know not one method. It's not magic. We have a standing joke, but it's real. It's actually meant as instructive. The people who learn my method can't do warts. Now that's interesting, and it's also a clue. I just haven't cracked it yet. When I say something like that, people say, yeah, any idiot can do a wart. And I go, this one can't. And be careful, when you learn it, you're going to lose the ability to do it. And then they lose the ability to do it. It's interesting. So why does that happen? But any other person, people come up and say, you can go boo to a wart and it runs away. We can do this method or that method, or I've fixed 100 warts in a row, and I don't deny it. I'm just saying I can't. Now, cancer's different. Cancer responds. So if you don't look at this as a contest, your question is, why does cancer work with this but not this? Why does a wart work with this but not this? And that's a beautiful area for study. In my little world, and I don't claim to be, it's not a contest of any sort. In my little world, we're better at taking things away than we are in stimulating things that are missing. And there's probably exceptions. So, for example, things that are missing, diabetes, you're not getting something. And does the healing fix the thing you're not getting? I don't know of a full cure, and I'm using cure as my criteria. I don't know of a full cure for diabetes in my world. Parkinson's, your brain's not putting something out. We need to stimulate it to put something out that you've lost the ability to do. So you get symptoms, I got the shakes, I got the this, I got the that. We're not very good at it. I mean, we can reduce the symptoms, we can make you feel better for a short, but we haven't cured it. The closest we've come is, oddly enough, informed water. So this is just an anecdote, but we had a guy who had been in a wheelchair for 5 years because of Parkinson's, drops under the tongue, no more wheelchair, walking a mile at a time. And that's reasonably interesting. Whether that will hold in large numbers, if you've got Alzheimer's, we have a tremendous effect. I was just on the phone with somebody using my method out there as it's her day job. And she was telling me of her latest, because there's multiple ones, fix of Alzheimer's. And within a couple of treatments, you're not there, you're there. The eyes focus, you're conversive, you remember things, you can make new memories. Now that's pretty interesting. Now in Alzheimer's, you got crap on the brain. We take away the crap.
Mm-hmm.
We're good at that. Stimulating stuff that's missing. I haven't done enough tests with informed water, but we'll find out. But right now, informed water seems to be doing what hands-on will do. So it's very encouraging to get a conventional treatment now. I want healing to be conventional. I got to store it. I got to scale it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, all the best with continuing with that research. And I'm looking forward to reading more about what you find in the future. I think this is just an unbelievably fascinating area. And like you said, so now we know that healing exists. That's not a question, but how do we bring that to the masses, scale it, store it? So, yeah, I'm excited to get more on that.
Yeah, and how do we scale it? How do we store it? How do we, the ongoing, the stuff that we don't know, the list is huge. I mean, it's really huge. So a nice simple example, healing doesn't degrade with distance.
Yeah.
It's not an issue. I mean, it's not a question. It's not, I'm not asking, does healing degrade? It's answered. We have it. I've got a zillion experiments. Other people have a zillion experiments. And so whether the client, which could be a mouse, could be a person, could be a cell, could be a whatever it is, the client could be right in front of you, between your hands. The client can be around the world. Doesn't matter. How does that work? The answer is anybody who thinks they know is deluding themselves. You talk of quantum entanglement, well, it doesn't fit. That model will fall apart when you look at the data on healing. Something's happening. Somehow a target is found, and we can do stuff on plants. So I put plants, around the world, and I line up 3 plants. I'm only going to do the middle plant. How in heaven's name do you hit the middle plant and miss the other 2? And I don't know anybody. I've a lot of people who say, I know, but when you hear them say what they know, they don't know. I certainly don't know.
Yeah. So we
So you
know
put
that
all these things that we don't know, and your head will explode.
yeah, that's the rabbit hole.
That's the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Well, we know it works and we just don't quite yet know how. So that will be the next step in figuring that out. Yeah.
Be nice.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to go at it for probably another 100 years.
I mean, I've given myself maybe 95 to 100 years, and then I may slow down.
Perfect. I think you can find a lot in that time.
Probably, but not enough, because I'll know less by that time.
Yeah.
Because I'll have found more experimentally, so I'll know less.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Have you tried this informed water on yourself also?
Oh, heavens, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, I take it every day. I don't know what it's doing, but I don't want to give it up.
Oh, yeah, that is amazing. And you can buy this informed water or or can people make it?
You can buy this. There's probably a way to get to it. Some people in the Netherlands and us formed a company to try to make it widely available.
Oh, okay.
But I would say look at my website, bengstonresearch.com. I haven't looked at it in a long time, but there's something, it's called Beng's Products or something. There's a link. And you can get what we call Restore, you can get what we call Recover, which is an antiviral, which we've tested out the wazoo. We can get Perform, which seems to be changing sports output. But people lifting weights take drops under the tongue, and they probably get arrested for cheating because they can now lift more weights and do this and do that, and it's changing the performance of people in a variety of areas. It's interesting, and we're making more stuff and playing around, and we're certainly the most researched product that's ever been.
Amazing. And we will be linking to all of Dr. Bengston's offerings in the show notes as well. So be sure to check there for his website, the workshops, and the products that he was talking about so that you can find out where you can connect and where you can buy those if you'd like to try them. This has been
Or
such
if you want to learn how to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
I
absolutely.
learn how to do it. I don't have any secrets about it. Say have a CD set. I think it's a CD set, but I have a CD set that steps you through practice. And people all over the world have, they write me, say, I did this, and then, my dead cat came to life, and all these other things I don't believe. And this happened, and that happened, and then okay, they're happy about it, whatever it means.
Yeah. So check that out and see if you can download. I think there's an audio download of the hands-on method also available. So you can have a look at that. See what kind of experiences you have if you want to learn this method and what happens. And let us know if you find anything that happens in your life or you're helping others with this. I'd be very curious to find out what you are experiencing with that. And we will link to that in the show notes as well. I think that would be fascinating to find out.
We get emails from all over the world virtually all the time saying, I did your stupid informed water and this happened and that happened. And I'm just going, Really? How can that be? How can this be as real as it seems to be? My head explodes.
Yeah. We will be searching for the why. That's the curious question about all this. Well, I hope you find some answers in the next 90 to 100 years that you'll be working on this. I really hope you come
Yep.
back to
Yep.
me and tell me some things you have found. That would be
Well, we
really
could we could set a
interesting.
date for like 90 years from now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe we'll record on a Tuesday. We'll figure it out, and you set the date. We'll come back in 90 years
And we'll talk about this again. Yeah,
and
that
say, I
sounds a
remember the
plan.
last time I was on this, I knew more than I do now.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds like a wonderful plan. And so we will leave our listeners with curiosity today. And we hope that down the road we'll find some answers. And I hope that our listeners have enjoyed this journey into healing and storing healing and the different materials we can use for storing healing and this enduring question of why and how this works. It has been fantastic chatting with you today on the podcast, Dr. Bengston. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom today.
Thanks for having me.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much and take care. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Journey podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Journey on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejourney.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.